Welcome to the Jheva deck profile. My name is Stylus. Let's get right into it. First of all, our right deck, Sunrise Egg. You can take any starter you want from it. It doesn't need to be Sunrise Egg. You can also choose a Trickstar if you want. Blaze Maiden Reno. When she's rode upon by the Reiju, you search for a deck for a Trickstar, call it to a rearguard circle, and shuffle your deck. And during your turn, if you have a Prayer Dragon in the same column as her, she gets plus 5k. Reiju. When she's rode upon by Nirvana Jheva, you look at the top 7, pick a Prayer Dragon, add it to your hand, and she has the same count ability as Verina, and which gets plus 5k if a Prayer Dragon is in the same column as Nirvana Jheva, our boss unit. She has the ability to act once per turn. You discard a card, you call a Trickstar and a Prayer Dragon from your drop zone to the rearguard circle. You can discard a Trickstar or a Prayer Dragon and then call the same one into the rearguard circle because it has no requirement to target before you pay the cost. And on attack, our ability, counter +1, you restand the Crossoverdress. For the main deck, we take 3 persona rights because this is the bread and butter of your deck. You will absolutely need your persona rights in any way or shape that you have a lot of pressure, which is also one of your mulligan targets. Then we have the Trickstars. They are easily searchable. You don't really need to focus it on mulligan. And then we play 2 Blaze Maiden Cindy. She's the second most important card for you since she gives you recycles, she gives you soul, she gives you everything what you need. And you want to have at least one of them in the drop zone. If you have the pieces in your hand, you can also keep her in the mulligan. For the Crossoverdress units, we pick 4 Verina. If for the Crossoverdress state, you need 1 Trickstar and 2 or more different named Prayer Dragons in the rearguard circle. Do Crossoverdress with it. For the people which don't know how Crossoverdress works, is if you have a Trickstar on the field and let's say you have 2 other Prayer Dragons, let's say this is the back row column, you just mash them together and normal call the Verina to your hand. During that performance, you can choose where you want to place it. You don't need to place it where one of these 3 back row circles is. You can also say you want to have it in the front row circle or like in the other front row circle. It doesn't matter. For the Verina, the ability is Crossoverdress, 1 Trickstar and 2 or more different named Prayer Dragons. It has the count ability in the front row. During your turn, if this unit is in Crossoverdress state, this unit gets plus 10k, and if you Vanguard with Vanguard in its card name, it gets triple drive and plus 10,000. Be mindful with that because this triggers your opponent's Elementaria very quickly. And also the outer ability, when this unit in the Crossoverdress stat stands by your Vanguard ability, and if your opponent Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, counter +1, restand all of your talisman or Prayer Dragon in your rearguard circles. And if you have 5 or more original dress in this unit, you remove all markers from your opponent's rearguard circle and retire all of their rearguards. For the skill itself, it will be for the skill itself to restand all of your talisman and Prayer Dragons. Keep in mind your Trickstars and your all other Verinas in your deck are also talisman in their keyword. And the retire and the mark removal can be pretty good against decks which use markers on the field like infinite ice markers or dragon tree markers. You remove all of them, or if you really need a whole board wipe, you can use this skill as well if you have the condition to mat it, which is everything free just for a counterblast. And if you have the right amount of original dress, then you can do the additional ability as well. Then for the other Verinas, we have 3 mirror Verinas. This one says 1 Trickster and 1 Prayer Dragon for the Crossoverdress ability. And if it's placed on rearguard by Crossoverdressing, you choose 2 of your 2 cards with Verina from your drop zone and put them into the original dress. When this unit is in Crossoverdress state, attacks, it gets plus 10k until end of that battle. Then you can put one of the Verinas in your original dress into the drop zone and you can either perform a draw card or a counter charge, which helps you a lot if you really like low counter blasts. You need counter blast for your Verina and also for your Nirvana as well. Or if you really have like a low hand size, you can use this to gain a draw out of it. For the other Verina variants, we have Verina. This one is just here for the Soul Blast to retire, and also the Crossoverdress ability states you need 1 Trickster and 1 Prayer Dragon. So you can stack it up like Verina, because Verina is the only one which can stack more Prayer Dragons into it. And if this unit is in Crossoverdress state, you can Soul Blast 2, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it. And when it attacks in the Crossoverdress state, only to the Vanguard circle, it gets plus 2000 until end of the battle for each of your opponent's open rearguard circles. And if your opponent has one or less rearguard, counter plus 1, this unit loses a drive check and it can perform drive checks in the rearguard circle until end of that battle. So this is if you get like a good early game and they gave you like a lot of damage, you can go for the ball Verina and just perform some drive checks to pressure your opponent back if needed. And then we have Brown Verina. It has the same cross-overdress condition as the mirrors and the ball Verina, just one prayer dragon and a trickster. If this unit is in the cross-overdress state, it gets plus 10k, but if your opponent is a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, it gets plus 20 instead of plus 10k. And once per turn, if this unit hits a Vanguard, if it is in the cross-overdress state, you can so plus 1 and choose one of their columns and they retire all of their opponent's units in that column. So this means you can choose the Vanguard column to retire the back for rearguard, or you can choose like the left column or the right column to retire the whole rearguard circle. So if you see any benefit with it, or if your opponent really needs their rearguard, they will most likely protect that one. For the prayer dragons, we have our Galumbria. This one is when you use this one in the cross-overdress state, you soul blast 1. Look at the top 7 and you can choose up to 2 Vairinas from them and reveal them. And if you reveal 1 or more, the first one gets into your hand, but if you reveal 2, then the second one goes to the drop zone, which helps you enable a lot faster your mirror Vairinas, or if you need like a better filtering for your deck to check better triggers. Then we have Stragalia. This one only helps you for the search, and sometimes it can help you with creating a board. What I mean with that is when it's placed from hand and you have a Nirvana Vanguard, you can discard 1 and search your deck for up to 1 card with the OverDress ability or with Trickstar in its card name and add it to the hand. So the only reason why we play this is if we really need the second Trickstar, which you might need in the mid game. This one helps you search it if you still didn't find the second Trickstar. And you have also the Crossoverdress ability. If it's used for the Crossoverdress ability, you can counter plus 1 and you can call the Trickstar from your drop to the Vanguard circle. This helps you a lot with building a board state and preparing to have like better usage of your Verina column, because sometimes you can't put all of your Trickstars on the field, and this one can help you with just getting the tricks and from the drop zone to the Vanguard circle and build a better state. And then we have our recycler, the Argnes. This one says if it's placed on Vanguard circle during your turn or discarded from your hand during the turn. If you have a grade 3 or greater Nirvana in your Vanguard circle, you can energy blast 3 and choose a card with the Crossoverdress ability and get it to the hand from drop. And if it becomes into the original dress, you soul blast 1 for a counter charge. So this is our other counter charger instead of Mirror Verina, but this one requires soul instead of like just an attack. This one also helps you if you don't find your Cindy's for the recovery with your overdress units. And then we play the Blazing Heavenly package with 4 Aparea, 1 Handeka, and also 1 Dras. Aparega is your most important grade 2 prayer dragon you will ever have in this deck. This is the only prayer dragon you will play at 4 of. Not less, if possible more, but you can't. This one says, on place, soul blast 1 and discard a card. You can search for your deck up to 1 prayer dragon and call it to the rearguard circle, but you can only use this ability if it's not placed from the deck. So you can't loop it with other Aparinas, that would have been too broken. And also, if this unit is in the original dress, draw a card, it is mandatory, and it gives the original unit which you cross-overdressed with a protection ability, so they can choose that unit for card abilities. It gets the same keyword as Trickstar. And then we have our other grade from the Blazing Heavenlies. This one says if it's in original dress, you soul blast 1 and that Crossoverdress unit gets the ability. If they want to guard this attack from that unit, they will need to call 2 or more cards from their hand if they want to guard it from. Otherwise, intercept and everything works with it. And then we have the Dravas. This one is here for the utility purposes of getting these 2 into the field. This one says on place, if you have a Vanguard with Nirvana, counter plus 1, retire another Vanguard and search for your deck up to 2 different Blazing Heavenlies from deck or drop. And if you search your deck, you shuffle your deck obviously. And if you retire the Crossoverdress unit with that ability, you draw a card as well. down. So this one helps you filtering these out of the deck or into the drop zone to gain like more advantages by just to use less of your hand and still get a board presence with just calling from like one discard from Jheva. That's it for the Prayer Dragon. We now go with the very important parts. We will play 3 PGs and an Elementario. You can choose not to run the Elementario for the 4th PG because sometimes you just want to call like 1 PG onto the board just to attack for the final swing. And since Elementario is a blitz order, you can't call it to the rearguard circle, which is very important to know. Then also for the order line, we play one of the defensive 4. This is very strong. This one says you choose one of your cards in the Guardian Circle and it gets plus 10k. And at the end of the battle, if it gets retired, you just put it back into the hand, which is strong if you combine it with an over trigger or with like any of your triggers. You can't use it on Sentinel. That is a heavy restriction and you should be very careful with it. It is one of the best Dragon Empire blitz orders you can run for now in like 90% of all Dragon Empire decks. And then we have our Regales spot. That is a choice you can make if you have like a lot of your friends or like locals have Shivanui or any other deck which deals with retire or like any other special conditions. I would go for the Angel Letter because this one just says you draw a card, put this into the soul, you get the ability that the Vanguard gets +5 and during your turn, and until end of your opponent's turn they can't remove your rear guards other than attacking, which helps a lot if you play against Messiah. They can't lock your rear guards, which is a very big for you. And then as the second regardless choice you have Protection Twincast. Protection Twincast is a very strong blitz order because that is the only regardless piece which you can use 2 times in a game. The first ability is played from your hand and it gets plus 10k until end of the battle from the unit that is attacked. And you can also use the drop zone ability on the next attack if you really prefer it, because the auto ability doesn't trigger the regardless piece ability. When this unit is attacked, you remove it from your drop and it gets plus 5k for each grade of that unit. So that means if you're at grade 3, it gets plus 15k additionally, so you get a total of 25k shield. If you play like a grade 4 deck, it will be plus 20k. If you play like Gryphogilia, it will be 55k or 50k if you use that ability. That is it for the auto white line. These are the only 2 options which I can only recommend depending on your local. So if they are playing like a lot of Dominate or like any of the board removal pieces, I would go for the Angel Letter. But if not, I would go for the Twincast because the Twincast is the more of the utility part. For the triggers itself, we will play 4 effect crits because sometimes you really need the soul and it helps you in the long run. Then 4 vanilla crit, we want to have as much crit as possible to finish the game faster. Then we play 3 front triggers because we like to have 20k shields and the front trigger benefits us a lot since we always attack with the Vanguard and restand our rear guards. Then we have the 4 heal triggers, just vanilla heals. And then for the final piece, the over trigger, we use Dragveta. Why we use Dragveta? Because Jheva is a Vanguard which doesn't have a once per turn ability on his on attack, which you can abuse a lot. That's it for the Jheva deck profile. If you have any questions, leave it down in the comments. And if you want to have like test hands or like test play, or if we should do like POV fight, let us know in the comments and we might arrange. But for now, have a good time and take care, my fellow Jheva players.